Okay, I changed the stream rate and I increased or tried to decrease the latency. So we'll see how that works. Alright, so now we're at 5 megabits per second, and I use the low latency option. So let's see how this works. So Darren, if you want to write a comment and then I'll read it back to you and let me know how long it takes for you to actually get an answer. Good evening, Matt. How are you doing tonight? Thanks for stopping by. Hello, Darren. Hello, CNC. How are you doing tonight? Awesome. So I got a new firewall, and I also upgraded my connection. They say it's 5 megabits per second, but I'm at least getting a little bit more than that. I'm getting about 6, so that's pretty good. At least it seems stable too. So I was having problems with stability. I think it was my old firewall that was getting in the way. It was choking everything down. Still has a pretty long delay though, it seems. Oh, cool, Matt. What made you decide to go with the Tormach? I'm just looking at the analytics, guys. I have a second monitor over here. That's why my head's constantly looking this way. Sorry. Yeah, cool. You know, Tormach makes a pretty decent machine. You can't complain for what you get. So somebody asked before I dropped off the first time. Somebody asked how the probe project was going. Yeah, John Saunders is a good guy. I went to his open house this year. That was a lot of fun. So the probe project has been on hold for the last 2.5 weeks because I've been pushing a ton of parts out for that robotics team, but those are done. So we finished those on Saturday. And then I had some parts for some other people to make. So those are done as well. So the plate is finally clear. So the probe project is going to continue. I know I haven't uploaded any videos in like 3 weeks. I feel bad. I just haven't had the time to edit them. I've got tons of videos making all these parts. Just need time to sit down and edit them. They're hard because each one of those really big parts was about an hour runtime per side. So it generates 2 hours of video plus. So you got to sit through and try to condense 2 hours of video into 10-15 minutes. That's the challenge. So far it says my stream health has been good and it's been consistent at 5 megabits per second, so that's cool. And we're at a full 1080p now. Before I was only at 720. Yes, CNC, that is definitely true. The Fidels are nice. You can get them at a really good price point, and they're very capable of machines. But as I said in a lot of my other videos, buying a used CNC machine is definitely not for everybody. You need to really understand what you're buying and how to maintain that machine. Whereas Tormach presents a wonderful, opportunity to enter the CNC world at a reasonable price for a brand new machine with a warranty that's ready to go out of the box. You know, so they both have their pros and cons to the approach for sure. Good evening, Peter. How are you doing tonight? You're still looking for your post-processor mod. So I can show you some of the other parts we got knocked out since we last talked. So let me close this. Yeah, I've been making a ton of chips myself. I think just these robotics parts I made generated over 35 gallons of volume of chips. I'll get rid of this guy. Yeah, CNC, the Tormachs are extremely forgiving for mistakes. You can pretty much crash a Tormach all day long, and it really doesn't hurt it. You might knock it out of alignment a little bit, but it doesn't damage it. You crash, you know, even a Fidel at full rapid speed, you're going to break something. So yeah, definitely. Yes, Advil, and that's exactly the use case for Tormach. So, you know, you said he bought a 770 for exactly that reason. Holy chip pile hat, man. Yeah, it was a lot of, we did a lot of hogging. My 2-inch face mill needs a new set of inserts. I got to turn the inserts on. It was starting to smear on the finish. So here, let's. Thanks for coming out, guys. I was more interested in seeing how the hardware worked, so I appreciate everybody just kind of showing up with no notice. Let's have some fun here. Let me show you some parts. So there's the other flat part I made. So this part is about 10.5 inches wide by about 12 inches tall, and that was a lot of whittling. And I think they had a design competition on how many different size drill holes they could put into a single part. There was like, I don't know, 12 or 13 different drills for this part. It was nuts. So you can see here, you can see in the middle here, a little bit of smearing going on there. That's from my inserts wearing out. Yeah, there were a lot of drills. There were a lot of drills. Here's the second one. So this is basically a mirror image of the first one, but it's got this extra cutout in the bottom of it. So these ones I didn't keep as flat because I didn't hold them down in the center. Their flatness is only within about 20 thou, and their overall thickness is within 10 because the material bowed up a little bit on me. But there's a lot of cross bracing on this piece, and it's only a 1/4 inch thick. So as soon as they put the cross bracing in, you know, it'll pull it flat and square. So it shouldn't be an issue for them. But yeah, they turned out pretty nice. I was happy with the way they turned out. So that's that one. And then here, let me find the other videos of the other stuff we made. CNC, I do a mixture of both. So I just recently upgraded. Hold on, here's the other. Here's a couple more pieces we made. So I just upgraded my boards. I made a video probably about a month or two ago of the upgrade. And with 44K of memory, if you're careful on how you set your smoothing and your tolerance functions, almost all of these operations were able to run within 444K. But, you know, so if it doesn't fit, I drip feed. you know, but I try not to. Oh, were you on the stream? I think I just streamed that like 2 weeks ago when I talked about. Here's the other part. Come on, focus. Talking about putting the vise in sideways. It wasn't. It actually worked very, very well. Good evening, Ian from Australia. Nice, cool. Cool. So these parts were a pain in the butt. I ended up doing them windowed, and you could see when I rotated there. Hold on. You can see here I got to get a nice sander or something to sand the tabs off, and then next time I do tabs, I think I'm going to actually model the tab into the model, because the way Fusion does tabs, you get these witness marks at every tab. It's kind of a pain in the butt. Yeah, Peter, use tabs. You just add some tabs to the part, and it cuts it most of the way out, and then it doesn't. Here, hold on. Here, I got one more part to show you that we made, or maybe not. Well, that video isn't good. Let's see here. Here, let me show you guys this one. How long have I been doing CNC? So I actually started out on a Tormach, just like a lot of you guys did, and that was about 7 years ago now. So I learned on a Tormach. I made a whole bunch of my dive light parts on a Tormach that was somebody else's Tormach that I have access to, and that's where I kind of got the bug, and that's when I wanted my own machine. And I was actually going to buy a Tormach, but I decided to go the used route and get the Fidel. So I've had the Fidel for what, 2.5 years now, almost 3 years now. So yeah, you know, about 7 years I've been doing it. I don't do it full time though, so I would still consider myself, I don't know, maybe an intermediate machinist. I don't think I'm a novice anymore, but I'm by far not an expert. So, but I'm getting there. I turn out some pretty darn good parts, I think. So. CNC, I would drip feed. I would get a CalMotion device and then just drip feed rather than spending the money on a memory upgrade. You're going to spend well over $1,000 to upgrade from 128K to 444K if you just buy the boards. I kind of fell into a really good set of boards, really cheap, so I jumped on it, and that's how I got it. But if that deal didn't just fall in my lap, actually a viewer hooked me up with that deal. Very, very gracious to get that deal. I wouldn't have upgraded my memory. I only had 44K. I didn't have any additional memory other than what's on the board, so I couldn't fit anything. I was drip feeding everything until I did that board update. So here's the other part that we made. So this one was a pretty easy part to make. This was just a vise part, and I set up 2 workstations. I actually had a viewer donate a brand new Kurt D688 machining vise to the channel, which was really generous and gracious. So I was able to set up both work. I've been meaning to try to make a video using that vise for a while now, and I've been using it, but all the videos that I made using it, I haven't been able to show publicly. They're, you know, NDA parts, so I can't ever show them. But these parts for the robotics team, you know, these are public parts basically. So I was able to show, you know, these parts. So yeah, I've run, I think the longest program I've run is about 4 hours on DNC drip feeding and didn't have a problem, you know, at all. So here's another part I made. This one was just for a buddy of mine. This is just 1018 steel. It's actually a bracket for a light. So this bolts to his farm tractor, and then the light bolts to here, and then he can aim it and do whatever he needs to do. But this was a part that's perfect for tabs, Peter. So I haven't edited, this is all raw video, I haven't edited any of it. So we can actually watch this run. So here's the setup. Let's just talk about the setup real quick. Just a bunch of toe clamps on a piece of, sacrificial lamb there. And then this runtime, I believe, is 3 minutes. So we're gonna pre-drill this out and then punch a whole bunch of holes in it because I don't like to plunge end mills. And then we'll come in with a 1/4 inch end mill, stub end mill. Remember, keep your tools as short as you can. Only use a tool as long as you need. So by using a stub 1/4 inch end mill, we were able to just plow through this material, full depth of cut, full width of cut, slotting at 20 inches per minute. We probably could have went faster, but the material wasn't that rigid. Random audio guy. So how much would that part cost if I were to bill for it? So I made 2 of those, and I would have billed the customer $100 to make 2 of those. They took approximately about an hour after you cam. So cam was pretty simple. Cam was about 5 or 10 minutes. It was 2 tools to set up. So 5 minutes a tool. So 2 tools to set up. Then get the material, saw cut the material, get the material in the machine, mount it, work offset, and then run it, and then clean it up, deburr it. I just wire brushed it. I didn't machine deburr it. I just wire brushed it to get the burrs off of it, and then send it off. It wasn't a high tolerance critical part. It took about an hour to make, so about $100. What coolant do I use? I use Blaser Swiss Lube 2000 Universal. I absolutely love it. It stays in the sump for over a year, doesn't go rancid, doesn't stink, nice on the hands, gets really good surface finishes and good parts, and it works with a whole range of materials without staining. So here's the 1/4 inch end mill. I just interpolated these center holes. He wanted them a little bit oversized so that they would fit nicely over a 5/16 bolt, so I think we knocked them out to like 3.340 or something like that. And then we're just putting the slot in. I have my own custom post processor that I use for Fusion. However, I have been working with Autodesk and testing out their post processor, and Autodesk has spent a lot of time on the Fusion post processor in the last 2 months, and they have greatly improved it. It now supports rigid tapping, and pretty much all of the bugs that I found are now fixed. I don't know of any open items on it to date. So the stock Fusion post processor that you can download from their website, that's the most current version, works wonders. So metal supply is tricky. So the hardest part about running a small job shop part-time like I do is I don't use a lot of material. I make maybe 1 part a week. That's pretty much all I have the time for. My company's more for doing this for fun and supporting my hobby than trying to churn and burn, heavy profits. So I make enough parts to help support and pay for the hobby and the YouTube channel and stuff like that. So material, if I'm just buying small quantity material, I know the local owner of Metal Supermarket, and in my experience, they've been hit and miss. But the new guy, there's a new owner for Metal Supermarket in my area, and he's been giving me pretty good prices on material, so I've been getting material there. And then there's also a local Alro distributor in my area. I have an account there, and I can get supplies there if I have larger quantities or I need a whole bunch of pieces saw cut. I like doing that at Alro because they'll quote the job, and I'll tell them my rough size of stock, and they'll actually cut it for me and then just deliver me the slugs, and then I don't have to cut it at my shop. So if I'm doing any type of quantity, I'll do that. Yeah, the original Fidel post processor from Fusion was very buggy. I actually talked to Al, who is in charge of the cam side of Fusion at the John Saunders open house, and then he hooked me up with another gentleman at Fusion that was working on the Fidel post, and we were able to sort that out. So, good evening, Steve. So Peter, so here's the finished part coming up, and you'll see that's how we held it. So when we're all said and done, we've got these little tiny tabs here of just a little wisp of material left. So then when it comes out of the machine, you know, you just take, I left these tabs full width, so these are actually pretty beefy tabs. I just took a little bit of angle cutoff wheel and just cut them off, and then just hit them up on the grinder to get rid of the tabs. On the other parts that you saw that I made for the robotics team, those long curvy parts, I left the tabs really thin. They were only 10 thou thick, so you could literally just smack the part with a hammer, and then, you know, the part would break out of the stock that was left, and then I just used a little hand Dremel to grind those little tabs off, but I got a little carried away, and that's why this side looks like junk. Steve, tonight's subject is no subject. I didn't even know if anybody would show up, but I wanted to test out. I got a new firewall. So new firewall, and I also upgraded my ISP service. So I wanted to see if we could stream at a full 1080p and at 5 megabits per second. So, these were a light bracket for a tractor, Steve. Here's the finished part, since you just came in, Steve. Good evening, Chris. Yeah, I am a hardcore true night owl. That's for sure. My best work comes at about 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Here was the video of making. Here we go. So here's those little rectangular brackets where we're using both Kurt vices. So I've got both Kurts set up in the machine, and I'm using 2 separate work offsets. And then in Fusion, Fusion is great for doing multiple duplicate parts at different work offsets, because in the setup you can just tell it, you know, duplicate work offsets, tell it how many work offsets you want to duplicate, tell it how much you want to increment the work offsets, and then, you know, it just does it. So it's real easy to do multi-station operations, and you can tell it how to order the operations if you want to order it by, you know, actual operation, if you want to order it by tool, or if you want to order it by part. You know, so if you order it by actual operation, you know, it will do, you know, facing on one part and then go over and face the other part, and do roughing on one part and then go over and do roughing on the other part. If you order it by tool, it will do all the operations for that tool call on one part, and then do all the operations for that tool call on the second part. So I ordered this part by tool, and then if you order it by part, it will basically just finish one part and then work on the second part. So that one doesn't save you tool change time. That's correct, Random Audio guys. So this stream is a 1080p stream, and it's running at 5 megabits per second. So to get this quality, my other streams, if you saw any of my other past streams, I limited the quality on those to 720p, and I limited that bit rate to 1500 megabits, 1.5 megabits per second, 1500 kilobits per second. My old plan for my ISP, I only had 2 megabits upload speed. And I try to limit my stream bitrate a little bit lower than what the maximum speed for my service provider is. I've done quite a few parts on the table, flat, Steve. Oh, come on, Peter. You can do better than 70 inches per minute. I've been doing a lot of stuff at 100 in aluminum. Yeah, no problem, random audio guy. I forgot what I'm running my baud rate on my machine at. It's whatever the maximum the dash, I don't know, 91.3 whatever software package can handle. I think it's like 19.2 or something like that. And I'm running 100 inches a minute, no problem. Once in a while, if you get really, really tight corners at high feed rates, like when you're doing adaptive, you'll starve it out. But yes, use DNCX. Do not use DNC command. Use DNCX. Yep. Yeah, if CD10 is 38K, then I'm running at 38K. I can look it up. I can't remember. But I've only noticed the controller starve out on one part, and that was because of me being a knucklehead and telling it to adaptive clear into a really, really small corner at a really high feed rate, and it just, too many commands. So the difference between DNC and DNCX is the protocol that Fidel uses. So if you use DNC, which is more of the industry standard protocol, what will happen is it will use 8 bits, an 8-bit data word plus parity. Okay, so what that means is that every bit gets a little parity bit. But if for some reason you get some noise or the controller freaks out or it pauses, you can lose data and it won't ever resend. What DNCX is DNCX uses what they call the X modem protocol. And it's a very, very old protocol. Well, I should be careful. It's a protocol that was used years ago when we had dial-up modems and people were calling into bulletin board services, if you remember that. But anyway, what it does is it generates a 128-bit data packet, and it's got a header, the packet, and a checksum. Okay, and then it sends that data packet to the machine, and then the machine either sends an acknowledgement or a NAC, a non-acknowledgement. And if it sends a NAC, then the controller will retransmit that packet. So it has a self-healing, lossless, mechanism in there, so that if you do get a corrupt packet, it can resend it and you don't lose it. So that's why DNCX is much better to use. It's a very old protocol. Gee, thanks, Advil. I used the X modem for a long time. It's, Peter, it's all about the noise of your environment, how much cable length you have, how good a cable you're using, so you could use DNC all day long and be fine, or you could be using it and then all of a sudden, the compressor kicks on right at an exact edge of a data transmission and you get a parity error and you're toast. So, but, haven't thought about X or Z modem for a very long time. Neither have I until I had to write the software to talk to the Fidel machine. I have not looked at using advanced feed forward yet. I'm still, that's why I say I'm an intermediate machinist. I haven't gotten into the advanced stuff yet. Oh, geez, Peter, you're like asking for problems. AC TIG is like the worst to have near serial communications. But hey, if you're not having problems with that, you probably will never have problems. Actually, if you look in the video that I've got playing, you'll still see the wax on the probe tip. So I have the probes in the machine, and that's where I stopped. I absolutely had to get these parts done. I was actually a little bit late getting them. I talked to the mentor of the school, and she said, "Oh, it's okay if you slip." So um, I I really took on a lot of work to make all these parts. So I haven't touched the probe at all, and that's why I haven't released any videos on the regular channel. So I apologize for that. I just haven't had the time to edit the footage. It's in the can. It's just I got to get it through editing and get it uploaded. Yeah, Peter, I'd get a Cal Motion. They're awesome. Yeah, it's just and I had some other customer parts come in too, and I've just been super jammed up. And then it's summertime, so family wants to do stuff. So I've been doing as much family stuff as I can. You guys all know I got a 6-year-old at home, so I'm trying to spend time with him. Family time is very important to me, and I try real hard to make sure that I make time for my son. So hey, Youssef, glad you could join us. Good to see you. I haven't heard from you in a while. There's two options for CalMotion CNC. One of them is for USB and one of them is for Ethernet. The difference there is the USB one, you gotta do what we effectively call sneakernet. So you take your USB thumbstick, you plug it into the computer, you put your files on it, and then you walk on your sneakers over to the machine, you plug it in the machine, and then you can transfer the files in that CalMotion. The Ethernet is nice because as soon as you post-process from your computer, you can just use what they call FTP and then just send those files through the Ethernet, internet connect your network, your business network to the machine directly. You don't have to use a USB drive, and you don't have to wear your sneakers out walking back and forth all the time. So those are the two options you had: USB or Ethernet. Oh, thank you, Chris. I appreciate it. I try. It is not easy making YouTube videos. I greatly underestimated the amount of time that it takes and how hard it is. So I give lots of credit to the guys that are doing these daily vlogs and they're cranking out a video every day. I could not do it. Even if I wanted to, I could not do it. So yeah, I don't think we've had a single stream drop out yet. Wow, there's 23 people watching. Holy cow. Yep, YouTube hasn't complained yet. Healthy stream. Oh, please do. I love hearing about projects from people with their Fidels. I'm popular. I try not to be. I do post some of the streams, Advil. I don't post them all. There are some streams that I have posted. I kind of keep the streams for people that subscribe. I don't have a lot of perks or benefits that I offer to people. Even like there's quite a few people on Patreon that are supporting me now, and I greatly appreciate their Patreon support. I don't offer any benefits or bonuses to supporting on Patreon. I did an early release for one of the videos because I actually got a video uploaded before Thursday night. Most of my video uploads, I literally upload them, and as soon as they're done uploading them, I release them. I don't, a lot of the guys that do YouTube channels, they'll have a ton of videos in the queue, and they just click release, so they're always timely, and I'm unfortunately not that planned out. Random audio guy, the PC is actually pretty important. You can tax the living bejesus out of your computer pretty easily doing these live streams. So the most important part that I found is to have a really good video card that can do your video processing. So if you look at my performance right now, even doing this live stream, I've got, can you see that? Yeah. Let me get it on there. So even doing this live stream, we're only using 10% of the CPU, you know, even with the video playing in the background. Here, we'll play it again. And then I'm hardly using any memory at all, and then you can see the stream data going out at 5 megabits per second. So there's my stream data going out. So this is a Intel iCore 7. I actually did a video on building this computer that I'm streaming on now, so you can see exactly, you know, what's in this machine and what I'm using to do it. But the key is that you want your video stream processing to be offloaded to your video card, and then that frees up the CPU, so then you can, you know, play videos and, you know, use Fusion 360. So, you know, I can use Fusion 360. Like, we can take a look at these parts if we want to, and, you know, there is no degradation in the stream quality at all because it's all offloaded to the video card. Oh, thanks, Advil. That thread milling video took a lot of work to make and to try to take an extremely complex topic and just generate a formula that people could use. You know, and the reason why I made that video is I saw so many videos from other creators where they're like, yeah, I just entered a number. And it's like, well, where'd that number come from? You know, you're not telling the whole story. So that's why I like to, that's why my videos are so long. I like to capture the whole story, you know, get it all the way down to the nitty gritty. So there's no questions when we're done. You know, that's the goal of all of my videos. When's the next stream? I have no idea. I don't, like I said, I don't schedule that far in advance. I try to send out a notice now, like a couple hours in advance, so that the emails will get out if you're subscribed and you have the little notification bell clicked. You know, if you watch my videos, I'm not one of these guys that nag everybody to subscribe every video. I figure if people like to watch my channel, they'll subscribe naturally, and that's what's been happening. So, and lately, the last month, even though I haven't been posting videos in the last 3 weeks, we've been getting like 250 or 300 subscribers a month gain. So that's pretty good. It's been growing exponentially. I buffered during the CPU question. Did I really? Oh, darn. Yeah, Random Audio Guy. You know, Ryzen and Radeon will work just as well as Intel and NVIDIA. It's just what you want to run. You know, I could care less which one you want to run. At the time I bought this machine, you know, Intel had the better chips out now. There's still a lot of arguing if Ryzen is beating Intel or Intel's beating Ryzen. I don't really follow it that closely. Oh, thank you, Peter. Every little bit helps. I almost have enough money in the Patreon account to buy a GoPro Hero 5 Black. So yeah, so the GoPro's gone. We almost killed it. So here's the GoPro. If you guys watch Edge Precision YouTube channel, he made his own GoPro housing. He was nice enough to share some models with me, so I might make a housing myself, but I don't know if you can see it, if it'll focus. My GoPro housing cracked, just like his did. And it's from, you know, we think it's from the coolant. And the last video I did where I had the GoPro in the machine, this whole back section of the GoPro was completely flooded with coolant. So we almost lost this GoPro. It almost gave up the ghost. So I'm trying to get a GoPro Hero 5, and then you know, we'll go from there. So, but yeah, all the Patreon money is adding up. So that's what I'm trying to get next, is get a better GoPro, so that we can get better shots inside the machine. All that video is shot with my Sony camera that I use for all of my presentation style videos, and it's shooting kind of at a higher angle in through the top upper Lexan front window. down into the machine to see, and it does pretty good. It gets pretty good good videos. Oh, cool. So stream's been flawless. That's great. Yeah, same here, Random Audio Guy. I could care less if I use Intel or AMD. You know, it's as long as it gets the jobs done, I could care less. It's so 1080p. Laughing my okay. Yeah, Peter at Edge Precision's a really good guy. He's a really good machinist. You know, so the primary customer that I work at during the day has a very large Mazak machine that's similar to Peter's. It's bigger than Peter's. It's the next model up from Peter's, and it really takes a really good, you know, cam operator machinist to make those machines sing. And he is phenomenal with that Mazak. I am using NVIDIA 1070, yeah, NVIDIA 1070 for the GPU. Peter, you stopped the 3-inch face mill. Are you kidding me? Did you crash it or did you stall your spindle? Oh, Savage. So Peter sent me an email asking me about face mills, and I had an extra one laying in my drawer for like the last 2 years, and I sent it to him, and I said, "Yeah, here you go, Peter. Use this one." So, ouch. 150% feed override with a 3-inch face mill. I think I mentioned something in email when I shipped it to you. Be very careful with that large cutter. Bad things happen quickly. So they don't, 3-inch facing mills don't break. They just stall the machine and you can break something pretty easy. Well, that's good. What did the machine do? I've always been curious what happens if you stall. Okay, so belt squealed. Did you hit the e-stop or did the machine e-stop because it sensed the spindle stop on the magnetic sensor? I was just curious. I'm just curious. Yeah, three-inch face mills really take a lot of horsepower. Okay, did you stall the axes out too? Savage, we're talking. This is a machining channel, so we're talking CNC machining. Pretty much everybody in the chat owns a CNC machine or is interested in CNC machining, and we're just talking machining. We trying to think here. Oh, that's okay, Ian. You'll have one soon, I'm sure. Oh, we got a Haas guy in here. Uh-oh. Just kidding. Just kidding. How to stall a machine? Oh, it's simple. Take a 3-inch facing mill and take too big a cut or too fast a cut. It'll stall out real quick. Oh, okay, so random audio guy, you're making speaker boxes. That's pretty cool. So you're doing, are you using a CNC router? So Peter, here's that setup I was talking about. Let me get this on the screen for you. Yeah, Savage, CNC machining is all over the place. Almost every product that you buy has some sort of computer, machining in it. Ouch! You, Advil, you better be careful there, dude. We actually burned down a CNC machine by actually igniting titanium and had a titanium fire in the machine, and it roached the entire machine very quickly. It was very tense because it could have got out of control very quickly and could have caused a lot of damage to other machines around that machine. So. Yeah, Doosan makes good machines. Doosan, DMG Mori. No, Steve, Fidel has never actually contacted me. But I do have some cool stuff probably in the works. So we're working on some other stuff. But Fidel has never contacted me. Oh yeah, magnesium will go up quick. Magnesium is far worse than titanium. Oh, okay. Yeah, Daewoo's are good machines too. MTDNC. No, that's a new one to me. So here I've got Fusion open. This is how I set up those little arched parts, Peter, with the tabs. So there's the stock and the setup. So because I knew I was gonna come so close to my work holding, I actually modeled all this out. And the reason why I put the table in the model was because I needed to line up this center support. So, I got 5-point support here, and that's just to keep the material from tacoing up. So that's how I set up the job. And then, so we did op 10. So face it. Okay. Actually, I set this up backwards. So face it. It's actually facing the other side. And then drill it. And then op 20, face it again. And then you're interested in the final cut. So the final cut in Fusion, if you edit this, you can say add tabs here. So for add tabs, you can set the tab shape and the width and height, thickness, and then you can, place them or space them, however you want to do it. And then if you look at the tool path, what it will do, and this is the one thing I don't like about Fusion, it will come along and then it'll stop, it'll retract the tool a little bit for the tab height, and then mill, and then it will plunge the tool back down on the other side of the tab and carry on. So when everything is said and done, if we simulate this, let me turn off, yeah, we can leave that on, and then we can simulate it, turn the stock on, so you can see how it leaves the tabs there. And this little part of the tab right here, that's about 10 thou thick right there. So there, when you're all said and done, it's pretty easy to just pop the parts right out of the stock. So that's how I do these wonky parts. Yeah, if one of the large machine builders wants to sponsor me, you know, I'm all for it. But nobody's pounding down the door yet. Yeah, Chris, no ramp. They just do a hard plunge. So that's the one thing that I don't like about the tab feature, because when it does that, if you were here when I showed that part, it leaves little witness marks here and here, and you know, plunging is okay with aluminum, you can get away with it, but once you start doing steel, you know, plunging is not that good. So try not to plunge as much as possible. That's why in that other part I pre-drilled all the holes where the 1/4 inch end mill entered. Yeah, the plunge is ugly. It really is. So the next time I do tabs, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to model it and then pre-drill clearance holes around the tab, and then have the model take the profile and then bring the tool out and then move it and then ramp it back in and do the cut. So the next time I'm probably not going to use the auto tab feature. I'll just use I'll model in my own tabs. Where I cut off parts of the support. I'm not following you, Peter. Nice, Random Audio Guy. So Random Audio Guy says, usually around 75,000 subs, you'll start to get the support of sponsors or attention of sponsors. Hard to do in the CNC world because people are allergic to work these days. Yeah, I can see that sometimes. Hi, Andy. Triangular tab. I've actually never tried the triangular tab. Let's see what it looks like. We can change it up. Oh, look at that. Oh, so that's going to do a ramp now. Interesting. So let's simulate it. Thanks for the tip, Andy. Nice. So let's see what it looks like. Ah. I'm going to try that next time, Andy. Thank you. So this does a ramp. It doesn't do a hard plunge. Nice. So then if you're in steel, you could probably do a thicker tab, and it will probably change the ramp angle. Yeah. Oh, nice. Now it's ramping. Yep, that's why I like doing these. Yep, there you go. There's a nice ramp down. Thank you, Andy. We appreciate that. So I'm going to try that the next time I do a tab part. That'll be a lot gentler on the cutter. Yeah, a small ramp is a lot better than a plunge. Yeah, they'll machine faster too. The other thing that, because of the ramp, then the cutter is not going to stop at the sidewall, so you're not going to get that witness mark. Yeah, I agree. That tip was worth not getting any work done as well. Here. Which parts were those? Hold on, let me find the parts. Nope, not that one. Nope, not that one. Yeah, here's that part. Well, we'll try it, Andy, and I'll get back to you on it if you want me to. Here, let me see where I roll it again. There we go. So when you use the rectangular parts, you see this witness mark right here. That's where the cutter stopped. All of this junk over here is because I used a bad cutter. I didn't realize it until after the part ran, but the end mill that I used was a carbide end mill, and it was all chipped up and chewed to all kingdom come. So the reason why this looks so bad is because of a bad mill. But this over here, and then there's another little one here, that's from the mill stopping, retracting, coming over the tab, and then plunging back down again. So the triangular tab will do a ramp, so the cutter won't actually stop its horizontal travel. So that might benefit hugely. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't even see that option until I was clicking around tonight. So I'll definitely try it and get back to you. So, I mean, the rest of the part came out real nice, and the profile of the part isn't critical. This finish on this slot wall was critical, and that's got a really nice finish on it. But that's about it. So, got a nice tapped hole. So yeah, you can see the witness marks over on that side too, where the tab was, and right here. So. Yeah, I think if you're doing like really hard materials, doing tabs is harder. If you were doing like an exotic stainless or a super alloy or a titanium, I would probably model the tab in so you have implicit control over your tool path and your ramps and everything. So. Oh, here, let me show you guys one more thing, and then I think I'm going to wrap it up for the night. So 2 weeks ago, I talked about how to drill these end holes in. Let's see here. So this part here, let me show the end of it. Come on, show the end. There it is. Nice. So focus. There we go. So these holes right here were posing a challenge to me, and mainly because, yes, I know I don't have an angle plate, and no, I don't have 1, 2, 3 blocks. So, yeah, this was posing some conundrums to me on how to perform this operation on my machine. As you can see, I got it done, and the way that I got it done was pretty cool, and it worked extremely well. Let me catch up on the comments here real quick. Yeah, I have to get a disc sander or a belt sander. I was thinking about a belt sander. Right now, I'm just getting them off with my Dremel, and it's just chewing it up, and it looks like crap. So I definitely need to get a disc or belt sander, that's for sure. Yeah, I saw this old Tony's probe video. A little more simpler, yes, that is true. But hey, it's working, so you really can't argue with that. Okay, so how did I do this? Let me show you how I held this. I'll show you the setup. It's pretty cool what I came up with. Yeah, Andy, unfortunately, I do a lot of weird parts that have a lot of weird geometry, and I end up using tabs quite a bit. More often than I would like to admit. You know, there's just no other way to hold some of these weird shaped parts after they come out of the stock, unless you want to start machining a lot of soft jaws and a lot of fixturing. And I've said in a lot of my other videos, I try not to do that, because as soon as you start machining a bunch of soft jaws and a bunch of fixturing, you're basically just adding cost to the part. So, you know, if I can talk to the customer ahead of time and say, hey, can I do this with tabs? And you'll just get a little bit, you know, of a bump or a flat spot, or, you know, a little bit hand finishing on that one part. Is that acceptable? And a lot of the times it is, because the profile of the part isn't as critical as the other dimensions. So by using tabs, you can save a lot of setup money by not having to machine so many fixtures. So let me show you how I set that up. So here we go. So this is what I did to get those end holes in. Yeah, and that's primarily the work I do. I'm making 1 or 2. I think the highest quantity of anything I've ever made was 10. So, you know, I try to keep the setup costs down because the quantity isn't there to amortize the fixtures across. Okay, so this is what I got going on. I took the keys off of my Kurt Weiss and I hung the little horn of that part off of the side of the table, off the front side of the table, and then I took another pair of vice jaws that I had and I clamped them on the part with a nut and a flange bolt. So the vice jaws add the needed rigidity, and then I've got the part held in the vise. And you know, this thing is rock solid. I can just go to town on this. I could hog it, you know, as hard as I wanted to. I was only drilling and tapping holes in it, but you know, this setup just proved, you know, really good, and it was easy. It was easy to do. It didn't cost me any additional, you know, fixturing or anything. So I was really happy with this setup and how it turned out. Yeah, I plan on, you know, there's a whole game plan that I have for the shop. I'm trying to get the probing done and get that all working because the probing is directly going to impact my speed and my accuracy. So by probing, I'll be able to get a little bit better accuracy on my parts. So the machine is very accurate. I'm just under a thou on total accuracy. But it doesn't do you any good if you're still, you know, using edge finders and dial indicators. I've got a Hamar 3D indicator now that was also donated to the channel, and that thing works pretty good as well. But the probe is just another level of accuracy, so that's why I focused on the probes first. Once I get the probes done, then I'm going to start focusing more on work holding. I was going to focus on tool holders, but I got tool holders donated to the channel. So the viewers of the channel have been very, very gracious in donations of stuff here and there. So, you know, pretty much the shop is starting to get outfitted very well. So I'm going to try to get some better work holding, some angle plates, some 1, 2, 3 blocks, stuff like that. And then also I'm going to have to start working on my metrology. I've got a basic set of mics and calipers and stuff like that, but you know, the specialty stuff like a bore gauge, like a set of bore gauges and stuff like that, you know, we'll get that as well. Hey, creative setup, yeah, it worked great. Good idea. No, it's just a camera angle, Steve. I had about 4 inches between the tip of the longest drill and the tool rack and the top of this part, so we weren't even close. Yeah, no, I don't have any gauge pins yet. So yeah, gauge pins, you know, set of gauge blocks. So the metrology stuff, I've got to work on as well. But you know, we're getting there. You know, I limit the jobs that I agree to do based on the tools I have. So if I don't have a tool for the job, you know, I make the decision of, do I really need that tool for other stuff? Would it be handy for the shop? And would the job pay for that tool at least? And if the answers are yes, then I'll do that job and I'll buy the tool just to do the job. So that's how I've been, you know, getting my tools, is by doing jobs and then investing in the shop. So, you know, that's why I said on a lot of my videos, you know, somebody asked me, well, you know, are you profitable? Did you pay the machine off? No, I'm not even close. But what I have been doing is I've been taking, you know, all of the gross profits that I've been able to make, and I've been reinvesting them into, you know, tooling and work holding, you know, in the machine. That's how I bought all the machine probes and everything. The tool setter was donated again, you know, but the machine probe and the OMM and all the stuff to hook it up, you know, I invested all of that. So that was well over $1,000 to get all that going. So, you know, I'm I think John Saunders calls it bootstrapping. You know, I'm on a shoestring budget, so you know that's what I'm doing. Yeah, Steve, that's exactly what I do. Take the job to try to get the tools. Yeah, so I was a motorhead. I still am a little bit of a motorhead. I enjoy automotive and cars and stuff. Not as much as I was at one point in my life. I owned like 7 or 8 vehicles at one point in time. I had 2 dually pickup trucks, if that tells you anything. I wish I would have saved some of that money when I was younger. This is when I was young and stupid and I didn't know what I was doing. Um, but back then I bought, you know, my welder. So I have all the fabrication tools for fabricating. So welding, cutting, grinding, you know, all of that stuff I got covered. I built a 1923 T-Bucket kit car with the help of one of my friend's dads. You know, he owned a shop. You know, I drove tow trucks for him for a while, so he helped me build the car. You know, kind of taught me, you know, automotive stuff. So I've got a 200, what is it, 250 or 300 amp, you know, MIG welder. I'd like to get a TIG at some point, but you know, 300 amp MIG welder could really buzz some good material. Yes, at the time I owned 7 vehicles, I was not married. That is true, Chris. Um, so you know, I've got the 250 or 300 amp MIG welder. It's a big welder. You know, I got the oxyacetylene cutting torches so I can do cutting and heating and bending. Um, you know, so we'll get there. You know, the important thing is that I buy everything cash. I don't owe a dime. You know, the machine's in my garage, so I had my garage, and I will have my garage anyway. So if the machine sits idle for a month and doesn't even turn on, you know, it doesn't bother me. You know, I'm doing this part time, you know, for fun. So married now, you love minivans with videos. No, there will never be a minivan in my driveway. Let me say that again. There will never be a minivan in my driveway. And my wife, um, she is very supportive and understanding of my quirkiness. I'm high maintenance, let's admit it. Um, and she agrees there will never be a minivan in the driveway. So, okay, Peter, fine, whatever. I like how you stuck the Prius in there with the 2 race cars and the race cart. So don't say what audio guy. There will never be a minivan in the driveway. Yeah, I'm holding off for a little while. I'm thinking that my son, he's kind of getting interested in cars a little bit now. He's still a bit young, um, but I think he's getting interested in cars. So I might build another kit car with him. I think that would be a very fun project to do with my son when he gets a little bit older. So you know, we might do that together. The Prius pays for the race gas. Yeah. The no debt part, you know, is important. I mean, if you're in business to do this for your primary business and your primary focus is, you know, to make profit to put bread on the table, then you have to make business decisions based on, you know, your contracts and your workflows, and you know, see if you want to purchase a machine, you know, with a loan or lease a machine. You know, those are very important and hard choices to make, you know, being a business owner. Because of the goals of my business, I refuse to take any type of debt at all, you know, for this business. So everything has to be paid for upfront. Ah, New Zealand, the land of sailors. I like sailing. I raced sailboats for 7 years, so I like New Zealand. How are you doing, Roger? Thanks for jumping on. We're just finishing up, unfortunately, because it's Holy cow, it's 12:40 Eastern Standard Time in the States. Wow, there's still 20 people watching the stream. And so far, YouTube is not reporting any drops on the stream, so that's good. I'll look up after it processes and posts, I'll look up the video stats later. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, machining is their full-time job. But, this is not. For me, it's not. My primary full-time job is a systems integrator. I'm a software guy. I'm very happy doing that job. It is very fulfilling for me. I get to work on a lot of really cool stuff. So I don't foresee that changing, at any time, if ever. But I also greatly enjoy, CNC machining. So I decided to start up my own shop in my garage. And the reason why I started the company is that, I started doing work, small jobs here and there for people. But then I started, doing enough money where, it would get noticed, in my spending habits. So of course, once you start, generating income from the work you're doing, Mr. Taxman wants to get in the way, and then you got some liability issues, so that's why I decided to start the company and then move everything into the company. Yeah, I'm gonna look at lathes. I'm just about to hit prime time. Which part? Where? New Zealand or I rock? Wait a minute, because I rock. I don't rock. I'm just a guy in a garage with a machine, and every once in a while I throw a YouTube up on or a video up on YouTube. But thank you. Yeah, I'm not gonna put that. I'm not gonna put that comment in the video. Random audio guy. How's my Fidel been maintenance wise? Was that before or after I rebuilt it? So when I bought it, before I rebuilt it, the Fidel was a total and 100% POS. Literally, it was awful. That said, because I was able to do all the maintenance myself and I was able to buy all the parts through mainstream distributors rather than specialty CNC companies. So a lot of the parts up front I bought because Fidel used standard parts. That's why I bought a Fidel. So the linear rails are standard linear rails. They're Thompson linear ways or NSKs. The ball screws are NSKs or they're what's the other one? It's a German company. I can't think of it right now. But so it was a lot of money up front after I purchased the machine. I think I put like $4 or $5 grand into the machine after I purchased it to get it up and running. But now that it's up and running, and it probably runs on average, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 hours a week, rough guess. The maintenance has been fine. I've changed my coolant once. I have a grease machine. It's not an auto oiler, so I pump grease in it, and so far it's been fine. I did have to replace a ball screw. We had the motor problem, but those were still all problems from when I bought the machine, so it hasn't worn out any parts yet. All the expenses have been from rebuilding it more than maintaining it. So the maintenance aspect, I think, is fine. So. Yes, Steve. So the great thing about Fidels is the parts is cheap in comparison to other machines. Yes, the Fidel parts are absolutely dirt cheap compared to other machines. Fidel spindle, you're looking at $3,500, $4,000, depending on who you go through. You look for a Kuma spindle or a Mazak spindle or a DMG spindle. I mean, you're probably starting at around 20 or 30, and you go up from there. So like the Mazak spindles that are integrated, that's a spindle motor or integrated motor, they can be upwards $50,000, $75,000. You know, so the Fidel machines, you know, a lot of people make fun of Fidel machines, but you know what? They use a lot of standard common parts, and they're cheap, they're easy to fix, and that's why I bought one. Diesel said, "Dude, I'm in trouble. Please help." What's up, Diesel? I'll give you 50. I'll give you guys 15 more minutes. I'm getting off at 1 a.m. Eastern time. I'm done. I'm going to bed. So, what's up? Oh, Peter, I got a nice video for replacing a Z ball screw. I just did it like what, 4 months ago, 5 months ago. Femco lathe, Fanuc control. Yeah, sorry, Diesel. No clue. When I go to put my machine into the ready state, it's kicking the main breaker. Interesting. So what happens when you know, what's supposed to happen when you put it in the ready state? Does that enable the axis drives? Does it enable the spindle? What does that mean, ready state? Popping the main breaker, just idling. No alarms. First guess, just kind of pulling stuff out of the air, is try maybe disconnecting the power to your axis drives and your spindle drive, and then see if it still pops the breaker. If it doesn't pop the breaker, hook up one drive at a time. That would be my rough guess to start with. You might have a drive that blew its bridge straight through. Oh, you're welcome, Darren. Have a good evening. You're taking off. So our Haas has a ball screw, $5,700. Yeah, you know, a lot of the machine tool dealers won't sell you parts to install yourself. You know, they want to make sure that they get installed right. You know, if it's a warranty thing, then you know they'll be even more pushy. But yeah, the Fidel ball screws. I think it was like $1,400. That included the assembly from FidelCNC.com. I would definitely buy the full assembly. Oh, Diesel. So you have a three-phase machine and you're running a single-phase to three-phase converter, and you shut the phase converter down before shutting the lathe off. Ouch. That might have done some damage, my friend. So basically what happened is you are operating a three-phase machine on single-phase power. The number one thing that variable frequency drives and motors do not like is running on single phase. So you may have blown the input stage of one of the drives potentially, or the output stage of a drive. And when they blow, typically they blow shorted. So you probably have a short across the mains. Might be worthwhile to make sure that it's completely disconnected from power, and then, you know, continuity check the drives and see if you've got any shorts on the input stages to any of the drives. Yeah, you probably, my guess is you either blew up an input stage to a drive, so either the bridge rectifier or the caps, or you potentially blew up the output stage, which is the IGBTs that actually go out to the motor. But more than likely, you've got some piece of silicon in there that let the smoke out. Yeah, Steve, if you have a phase converter and it's just running a three-phase motor and you turn off the phase converter, eventually it will damage the motor because it will probably end up overheating it. but in the short term, you're not going to destroy it. The problem is the electronics in the CNC machines. Unless you have a phase converter, a variable frequency drive that was designed to run on single phase as well as three phase. If you just run it on three phase, it can overload the input bridge rectifier to the DC link bus. Diesel, you probably won't find a short to ground, but what you will probably find is a short from line to line. Oh, the line reactor looks burnt. That's not good. Yeah, so line reactor's tough without an LCR meter. I mean, you can check the resistance of a line reactor, and there should be some resistance to it because it's a coil of wire, but not much depending on the size of the line reactor. But really, you need a LCR meter to really test a line reactor properly. You're welcome, Peter. Good night. Have a good evening. I'm going to be finishing up here shortly, guys. So far, YouTube hasn't complained about the stream at all. Still 17 people watching. Cool. I personally do not have a LCR meter, and I really wouldn't be able to test a line reactor. I wish I could help you out with that, but I don't have the equipment to do that at my house. So, but I highly doubt that, you know, unless the line reactor looks blackened and smells bad, I doubt that is the problem. The problem's probably in the variable frequency drive. I guess what I would do is I would disconnect the input power to each one of the drives. You know, be careful doing this. This is all high power electrical stuff. So if you don't understand electricity, you know, don't do this and get somebody that understands electricity here. But I would probably disconnect all the input power to all the major drives, the axes drives and the spindle drive, and then try to energize the machine and see if the controller comes up and see if the machine will come up then without popping the breaker. And then once I get it to the point where it will power up, then power it back down and connect one device, power it back up, see if it, you know, comes up, power it back down, and then repeat until you find, you know, which drive is popping the breaker. But yeah, be careful. I mean, you're talking, you know, you're probably running 208 3-phase at, you know, probably 50 or 60 amps. It's definitely enough to put you to sleep permanently. So please be careful. Hey Gary, good evening. We're just finishing up here. I'm gonna sign off very shortly. I'm just trying to finish up the last couple of questions here. Thanks, Chris. Thanks for stopping out and hanging out with us. It looks like the streams are good. Successful test tonight, and everybody learned something because Andy stopped by and said, you know, hey, why don't you click on the triangular tab and then it won't plunge. So you know, thank you to Andy for educating all of us this evening. That was pretty cool. So pushing the contactors closed one at a time with a pencil will also work if there are contactors between each drive. A lot of the machines, they put all the drives on one contactor, so that really doesn't do you much good. But if your machine is split up so that it's on a separate set of contactors for each drive, then yes, there is a manual closer for each contactor that you can close it and try it that way. Ah, thanks, Diesel. Yeah, we upgraded to 1080p. So we upgraded the service router in the house and the firewall, and we talked to the ISP and got the ISP to upgrade our upload speed. So the 175 contactor is probably the main spindle drive for the spindle, and then the 315s are probably the contactors for each one of the axes. So do you have a, is that a 2-axis lathe or a 3-axis? Actually, one of them might be it might be for 2 axes and then one for the controller. Oh, Gary, how'd the Fanuc install go? Fanuc, sorry. Everybody gets mad at me when I say Fanuc. It's Fanuc. Yeah, I don't know how it's split up, Diesel, but yeah, that's another option you can try, closing one contactor at a time by hand. Just be careful doing that, because sometimes there's a power on order of those contactors. So typically they want the controller up and running first before they switch on the axes drives, so that your axis doesn't try to take off or do something stupid. Yeah, there could be a contactor for the coolant pump. It depends. If you have a high pressure coolant system, then yeah, that pump can be pretty large as well. You are correct, CNC. My machine, the coolant pump is only I think it's like maybe like a 4 or 5 amp pump. It's a fractional horsepower coolant pump, so it's just on a little tiny relay. It's not a contactor. Good night, Random Audio Guy. Thanks for coming in. Good night, Steve. Thank you. Yeah, I am going to get a video up this Friday. I've got tons of footage. I have no parts to make this week. I am done. I'm going to try to take some time and relax. I've been running around with my hair on fire lately. So I'm going to relax. Yeah, I might, Random Audio Guy. The problem with posting these live streams is, this one's going on for, what, an hour and a half now? Yeah, we're at an hour and 27 minutes. They don't get watched. People don't like to filter through an hour and 30 minutes worth of video content, for stuff. So, yeah, I keep most of them not listed. If you're a subscriber and you get notifications, you'll get an email that we did the live stream, and it will give you the link so that you can watch it after the fact. It's just the general public won't be able to see it. So all of the channel subscribers will be able to watch it, and that's fine. I like to have something that is a bonus for people who subscribe. Yeah, sorry, Diesel. I was in a similar situation on my Fidel, and this is something I still haven't fixed yet, and I have to make this a priority to fix. On my Fidel, there is not a low air pressure e-stop switch in there. So if I don't have shop air on my Fidel, it won't know any difference. And when I very first got the machine, I forgot to turn on the shop air because I got the air on a valve because the machine's got leaks in it, so it leaks down my whole air system if I leave it on overnight. So I didn't have the air on, and I went to do a tool change cycle, and what I found out is the drawbar released limit switch wasn't adjusted properly, so the drawbar never opened, but the machine thought the drawbar opened, so then it pulled the Z head up, and it literally ripped the tool out of the drawbar, and it shattered the drawbar. So yeah, I've made those mistakes as well. Yes, Steve, subscribe and make sure to ring that bell. If you notice, in none of my videos do I ever ask for subscribers or ring the bell. I've said it before. If people like my content and like my videos, they will subscribe. I don't have to ask them to do it. If they don't like it, or they're just here to watch one video, that's fine. I'm not You know, I do the YouTube video to try. I do the YouTube videos to give back to the community because I got a significant amount of help from a lot of friends, and I know that there's a lot of people out there that don't have access to the friends that I have access to, and I'm very blessed to have the friends that I do have, and I'm very thankful for it, and I'm very appreciative of it. So, you know, the YouTube videos are my way to try to pay it forward for them helping me, and you know, so I'm trying to help, you know, a lot of other people, and then also, you know, that's come back a lot, and you know, there's been a lot of viewers that have helped me out immensely, you know, with donations and, you know, firing me off emails. They watch a video and say, "Hey Tim, why don't you think about doing it this way a little bit?" You know, so you know, you get what you receive, and I'm a firm believer in that. This has been really cool. Yeah, it was drawbar was, you know, 2-3 hours of labor, and I think it was like $500 or $600 in parts. It was an expensive mistake. Yeah, but you know, we all make them. Yeah, so I can get a low air pressure sensor. It's just a standard sensor, and then wire it into the e-stop loop. It's not hard to do. I just haven't made the time to do it. You crash the lathe daily. Oh, God, don't tell me that. Oh, okay. I was gonna leave at 1, but real quick, last story. Um, when I was younger, oh, I hate saying that now. Previously, I worked at a company that had, you know, in-house machining, in-house electronics and everything. So I got a lot of experience with, you know, machine electronics, you know, pressure, stuff like that. But in any event, they did a lot of machining on Inconel X750. So if you're familiar with the Inconel family, it's a super alloy, so it's a super stainless steel. It is very hard, very gummy. It is just a nightmare to machine. So they had a very, very large CNC lathe. I think it was a 50 or 70 horsepower spindle. And I remember working in the shop one day, and you just heard the most horrifying, large, ground-shaking bang that you have ever heard. And I mean, my heart skipped a beat. It was so loud and so violent. And what happened is there was an error in the CAM code or the G code for the machine, or a work offset error. I can't remember what caused it, but basically the entire tool carriage, not just the tool, but the tool holder and the carriage collided with the spindle while it was spinning at a very high rate of speed, and it literally bent the spindle of the machine. So yeah, you know, there's been some doozy of mistakes. On my machine's so old, I don't think they had a low pressure air pressure sensor on it. So no, I don't think it's standard. So Diesel, are you using, what CAM software are you using? Are you using Fusion? Oh, Hastelloy. Jeez, Gary, Hastelloy is horrible. Hastelloy is even worse than Inconel, and it's expensive too. Holy cow, it's expensive. So if you're using Fusion, there is an option in Fusion where you can tell it to use a feed move for multi-axis rapids. So rather than using a G0, if you need to move X and Y in a rapid move, you know, for example, rather than using a G0, what it will do is it will replace it with a G1 move, and then you can dictate what the maximum feed rate your machine can handle is. So then rather than rapiding and doing the dog leg, it will use a feed, so it will be a linear move and it won't dog leg on you. So I use that on my Fidel. So Fusion's not spooky. It's quirky. I like to say it's quirky. It has its quirks. It's come a long way. Last summer was an absolute nightmare, but I think the Fusion team learned from those mistakes, and I think they genuinely took it to heart. And then the couple of outages that they had in last winter and in the springtime, they really got a lot of heat over a lot of people that are using Fusion for more commercial business. And I think they really took that feedback to heart. So it has come a long way in a short amount of time. I'm actually pretty impressed. Being a software engineer myself, I'm pretty impressed with what they've been able to accomplish on a commercial software package. So it's getting there. It's getting close. So yes, Fusion has come a long way in the past year. The Fusion team has worked very hard, and I will definitely give them props. That's for darn sure. So I think the Fusion lathe is more quirky than the Fusion mill. I haven't seen a lot of issues on the Fusion mill, but I've heard a lot of people have a lot more issues with Fusion lathe. Yeah, I know the Fidel machines, we don't have any options to control whether it dog legs or not. The Fidel machines, when they rapid with a G0 command, they will dog leg all the time no matter what. You don't have any way to control it. Have a good night, Steve. Thank you. So. Okay, guys, I'm going to turn into a pumpkin soon, so I got to get up in the morning and get my butt off to work. So I'm going to sign off here, and thank you for everybody for coming. Thank you for the feedback on the stream. It's been fun. All of these live streams have been really fun. I enjoy doing them, so we'll do more in the future. So. Oh yeah, safe moves change if you're inside the ID or on the OD. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Definitely, you definitely got to pay attention. So. So CNC has had great luck with Fusion on lathe. So there you go. Okay, guys. So, oh, that's okay, Diesel. There's a lot of people out there that are 100% self-taught. There's no school like the School of Hard Knocks. So, but okay, guys. I'm gonna have a good night. You guys have a good night. Thank you all for coming, and we'll see you on the next stream. And we definitely should have a video up this Friday for you guys. So, okay. Have a good night.